We just got one verse today. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. And we'll read it. I'll give my title, and then we've got a short clip I want y'all to see real quick. Say amen when you found it. Amen. All right, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. It reads like this. Y'all got it?
Yeah.
It reads like this. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. When I became a man, I put away childish things. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's time to grow up. Amen.
Where are you in life? Are you where you want to be? Are you ready for a change? Look back at your 2018. Think of how you can get to the next level. Through ministry, relationship with God, commitment to the church, and personal worship. This is your time to also think of how you can get to the next level in your personal life with family, friends, kids, your marriage, personal relationships. Whether it be fitness, health, on the job, or at school. What is your next level? For 2019, we challenge you to make Next Level Ministry with Pastor Micah D. Johnson a part of your everyday life. Every next level of your life will demand a new you.
How many want to go to another level in their life? In every area of your life. And even in our church, we've started this series entitled Next Level Ministry. In the midweek Bible study at Red Light, we've been talking about the next level me. Let me introduce today's lesson by showing you an epic fail, being a little transparent, showing you an epic failure on my part. I remember when I became a new dad, my daughters were young. They were probably like 5 and 3 years old. And I was a new dad, and I said, I set out on this mission to be the greatest dad ever. And I said I was going to date my daughters. I was going to date my daughters. From the moment they could walk and talk, I wanted to date my daughters. And the reason I did that is because I wanted them to be used to a certain type of treatment. So when Knucklehead shows up to try to be a boyfriend, they are already accustomed to a first-class gentleman. So I was the first one to give them flowers. I was the first one to tell them you are beautiful. So when some little raggedy boy at their school tell them you so pretty, or that ain't the first time they heard it. And you ain't the first one to bought them roses and bought them a teddy bear. And so I remember when they were 5 and 3, I said I was going to take my daughters, I was going to save my money because I was broke at the time. I was going to save my money and take them to a fine dining restaurant at least once a month or once every other month. So I got my girls all dressed up and took them to a restaurant called Three Forks. I don't know if you ever heard of it or not. Three Forks is a top-notch steakhouse. It's a first-class steakhouse, and we got them all dressed up. And their mama had told me, don't take them there, they're too young. I said, no, I need them to understand what it's like to go to a fine dining restaurant. I took all my little paycheck and made my reservations and went in there and got my kids dolled up, and they sat there, and Michaela, the waiter comes up and asks us what do they want to drink. They said soda pop. And then they asked, what do you want to eat? They said chicken nuggets. And Jaya, my baby girl at the time, she was 3 years old. She didn't care nothing about nothing but ketchup and tomatoes. And so I'm there, and I'm like, well, I'm going to order the steak, and I'm trying to convince my girls to get some of this. I done saved up, I done paid money, I done drove all the way out here. I need y'all to get a more elaborate dish. And they didn't know nothing about salmon and shark and sea bass and all of this stuff. I got them out there. Watch this now. I brought my daughters into a place that they were not mature enough to understand. I want you to understand with that analogy is that a lot of us are trying to handle first class or cloth napkin ministry, but we are still babies in our maturity. With that being said, my daughters did not understand the significance and the value of the restaurant they were taken to. They couldn't understand that because they were just 5 and 3 years old. They did not understand how rare it was to be able to go out and eat a steak. They did not understand cloth napkin mentality because they were too young to digest what had happened. I wanted my girls to appreciate where they were, but they couldn't appreciate the level they were on because of the maturity they did not have. What I want you to understand is that the majority of us, we want a first-class church, but our church is consistently full of immature believers. We have a desire to have steakhouse ministry with people who are just kids in the building. And before you start looking at the youth ministry, talking about Pastor Jay talking about you, I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about some of these grown folk in here who, y'all ain't gonna like me this morning. It's gonna be a rough ride. Fasten your seat, but I'm talking about these grown folk in here who are still childish, still keeping up mess, still negative. You need to look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's time to grow up.
Y'all may grow up.
In all this talk about taking our church to the next level, we should not go to a level we're not willing to grow to. It's dangerous to go up without growing up. Preach Pastor Jay up in here. It is dangerous to go up before you grow up because a lot of us can go on levels we have not grown into yet. And if you do that, you will do what my daughters did at the restaurant. They will throw food on the floor because they're immature. They will throw tantrums because the chicken didn't taste like Wendy's. I want you to understand, a lot of us are in church, we throw these fits because we haven't grown up yet.
Come on, man. Come on. Preach them. Preach them.
It's time for you to grow up. How long are you going to be childish? How long are you going to be immature? How long are you going to be keeping up mess? How long are you going to be lying and backbiting?
Come on, man. Preach them.
Oh my God. Grow up.
Hey. Preach, boy.
I mean, you've been in church 30 years and you still keeping up foolishness?
Talk to.
I mean, after a while, and then you go to another church and you have the same problem. You go to work, you have the same. If everywhere you go, you got the same problem. It's you.
Right. Come on, man.
Our church has this motto that says, come as you are and stay as you grow. We like to focus on the pretty part of that, come as you are. Meaning you can walk up in here in any kind of way you want to. You can join church any kind of way you want to. But let me be clear, that is a conditional motto. That means you can come as you are, but you can't stay as you are. You're going to have to grow when you come up in here.
Come on, man. Preach them.
I have no problem with you coming in here immature. I have a problem with you staying immature.
Amen.
That's why the Bible says, stay as you grow. If you ain't going to grow, then maybe you might need to go. Preach Pastor Jay up in here.
Come on. Talk to.
The dangerous thing is if we do get to another level, but we got childish believers, we are going to mess up what God gave us.
Yeah.
If you put a car in the hands of a senior in high school,
Come on, man.
you might be all right. But if you put that same blessing in the hands of a child, you will wreck up everything and everybody.
Amen.
I want you to understand that the blessing doesn't change, but the maturity to handle the blessing has changed. Do you not know that it is wrong of you to ask God for stuff you ain't mature enough to handle?
Come on now.
Lord, send me a husband. But you ain't even learned how to be a faithful friend yet. Lord, let's get a new job. But you won't be on time for the one you got.
Amen. Preach
And then this is the one I like. Pastor, I want to be in charge of this ministry.
Come on, man.
You ain't done nothing with the one we gave you. You've got to grow up. In our text today, the Apostle Paul invites our thinking to his first letter to the church at Corinth.
Amen.
Now Paul penned this letter to address the two most destructive devices in the church, even today. He writes to correct immorality and division. Paul writes to this Corinthian church to teach them that you cannot go to the next level with moral issues. We don't like that word moral stuff because that means we got to behave, we got to do right. So he talks about division where we argue, we fight, we bicker, we quarrel. This church at Corinth, they would argue over politics stuff, over the stuff that didn't even matter. They would argue over foolishness. They were not really focused on kingdom work. They were just focused on church stuff. Oh, that's kind of like our church because a lot of folk, they are more devoted to the church than they are to the kingdom. They don't know the Bible, but they do know the bylaws. They more Baptist than they are biblical. And you do know that you can be related to the church and not know anything about God. Come here, Jesus. Jesus said, wait a minute. They said, Lord, did I not cast out devils in your name? Did I not work in your name? Did I not do all these great things in your name? And he said, depart from me. I don't know you.
Come on, man.
Just because you know your lines don't mean you know the Lord.
Preach the word.
Just because you're working at the church don't mean you're going to make it in. Because you can go to hell from church. Yes, you can. Because if you don't know Jesus, all this is just in vain. And I don't know about y'all, but I refuse to do all this church work and miss heaven. The devil is a lie. I'm going to make sure that if I don't know y'all, I'm going to know him.
Come on, man. Come on.
He addresses church politics and confusion within the church at Corinth.
Amen.
He teaches that if the church is going to achieve next level ministry, she must consist of spiritually mature members and spiritually mature leaders.
Amen.
He says if the church is going to go to another level, it's going to require another level of maturity. Amen. You cannot go to the next level with the same level of maturity.
Come on,
you can't think the same way you've been thinking. You can't operate the same way you've been operating. You're going to have to grow up. You're going to have to do some stuff with your spirit. You're going to have to mature because this next level requires another level of maturity. Paul uses this word child throughout the entire verse. He uses this word child. And that word child, I thought that it meant just a kid. But in the Greek, meaning, it gives us a little more specific explanation. The Greek says that the word child is a person no older than 4 years old. Also, this person has no understanding.
Come on, come on, come on.
It's a word picture of spiritually retarded, meaning growth process has slowed down.
Amen.
The word child means, it means you are a 4-year-old in the spirit. You are undeveloped. You have no understanding because your growth has stopped. It has stopped or slowed down. The word child in the text means to be retarded. What that means is that there's something wrong in your development process. Keep Pastor J up in here. Which means, wait a minute, Pastor, I can be saved, sanctified, and retarded. Yes, you can. Because a lot of us, we have grown up in our bodies, but you slow in the spirit. You got the body of a 40-year-old, but you got the spiritual mind of a 4-year-old. Can't eat without spilling things all over yourself because you're child. Your mess keep coming out all over you because you ain't been potty trained in the spirit. You are childish. You don't even know how to control your own waste. Preach God. Your waste comes out all over the place. People know you here because they smell you. You are childish and retarded. Grow up.
Thank you. Amen. Amen. Thank you for the word.
Church is filled with and ran by childlike adults. Filled with immature believers and ran by immature believers. Notice it's written to the males.
Yeah.
Because Paul says, when I became a man,
amen.
I put away childish things. He writes to the males. And although it's written in the male gender, the message applies to both genders. However, I like the fact that Paul talks about the male, because men can be messy too. Amen. Ooh, Jesus. You ever met a man that talk too much and gossip and messy, and nothing is more frustrating than when you expect a man to be a man, but he gossip like a little girl. Y'all looking at me up here. This tight butt is right. I ain't scared of nobody. The point is, he speaks to the men because we set the tone for maturity in the house. Men, it's time for us to grow up and be men. We have to be men. We have to lead the church. We have to lead the body. And if you won't grow up, don't get mad when the women decide to do it. Come on, man. Come on. You can't lead about everything and then don't do nothing. By the time you got done leading about it, the women that already got it taken care of 4 or 5 times. Come on, man. Don't y'all throw no tomatoes up for me. Don't y'all throw no tomatoes up for me. It starts with us. The Bible offers wrote in the masculine form because maturity should begin with the men. It's too many men behaving like boys. Amen. Too many women behaving like girls. Amen. And then you wonder why the kids is showing out. Because the grown folks is showing out. Yeah. And kids don't do as they are told. They do as they are shown. Amen. You show them one thing, they gonna do that. That's why they talk to you crazy, because they see you talking crazy. That's why they showing out. That's why they sneaking girls and boys in the house. That's why they don't know who they are. You want them to grow up, then you grow up. Amen. I spoke as a child. I understood it all as a child, and then I put away childish things. Now, we're going to bounce all over the Bible for a little bit. But I want you to see the first thing that has to grow up is we have to have mature conversations. Amen. We have to have mature conversations. And I want somebody to find Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. I want you to find that and follow that with me, because I want you to see something here. Now, Paul says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. Amen. Now, before we deal with that in conversation, you must understand that children must remain in their place. Amen. See, kids speak as children because they are children. But when you allow them to operate as an adult, then it's hard to send them back to their childlike. Okay. What I mean is, you can't party with them and hang with them like they're grown. And then try to make them. Look this way, don't look down. Look this way. You can't party with them and hang with them and get high with them and then say, respect me in my house. You can't bring all these strange men to the house and be, you can't be grown with them and then call yourself trying to discipline them when it's time to be a parent. You need to pick which one you're going to be. Are you going to be a homie or you going to be a parent? Children, they cannot talk to adults any kind of way. Amen. When you a child, you stay in the child's place. You know, that's why when I was coming up with my grandmama, when her and Sister Sally was talking, she just looked at me. And guess what I did? Went on to the other room with the kids. And if she had to say anything, now go on now. Because, see, kids supposed to hang with kids. Grown folks hang with grown folks. See, if you just must gossip and lie and backbite and talk about the church, don't do it with the kids in the car. You can't talk about the pastor with the kids in the car. Look at how y'all look. See, y'all think I know y'all been talking about your boy, but that's all right. See, you and sister so-and-so ain't saying nothing, but your kids been saying. Looking at you crazy. And see, so you can't be messy in front of them. Anyway, he says, did y'all find Ephesians? Yeah. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. He says, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Is that what your Bible says? Yes. Let no corrupt communication come out of your mouth. Amen. He's talking to the believers. Yeah. He's talking to church folks. The actual Greek phrase is worded differently. It says, every word that is corrupt out of your mouth, let it not proceed. Now that changes everything, because the English translation, so that in order for it to be grammatically legal and make grammatical sense, they had to switch the words around. It says, do not let corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. But in the Greek, the words are shifted around, and they say every word that is corrupt out of your mouth, let it not proceed. The point is, it's already there, just don't allow it to come out. Come on, man. What Paul wants you to understand is that corrupt communication is in you. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. It's in you. It's in you. He says, just make sure you don't let it come out. You ever wanted to say something, but you probably thought it wasn't a good idea to say something? See, everything that you think don't necessarily have to be said. Some of us, we pride ourselves on, I'm just going to keep it real. I'm just telling it like it is. But usually, the folk that call themselves telling it like it is, they can't handle being told like it is. Hey, Holly, walk me outside in case somebody get mad. Listen, I want you to understand that just because you think it don't mean you need to say it. Learn when to be quiet. Sometimes, learn when to shut up. You gotta learn everything ain't got to be said. That word communication is logos in the Greek, which means word. Now that word logos is the same logos that shows up in John chapter 1 verse 1, where he says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. He's talking about Jesus. He said that Jesus is the Word, and the Word is Jesus. What I want you to understand is that there is more than one type of word. But there is the word, and then there is a word. There's a difference, because the word is the ultimate source of authority. But then a word can come from anything or anybody. Here's the point I'm trying to make, is that if you know the word, you ain't got to be careful about a word. Corrupt is sapros in the Greek, which means rotten, worn out, unfit for use, useless or worthless. It can be negative, but not be corrupt. Meaning, I can correct you without corrupting you. Amen. Because not everything that, sometimes you have to say stuff that corrects people. Amen. Every once in a while, folk need tell. Listen, if you got a problem with people correcting you, then you don't need to serve in ministry. Amen. But your correction should not be corruptive. It should be in a way that's constructive and not destructive. Because see, sometimes we ain't got no problem with checking folks, but the problem is we don't know how to. Sometimes it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. Because what you can't do is step to me any kind of way. You know, folk think because I'm pastor. You know, folk think because I'm pastor, and this is that they can say anything to me they want to, any kind of way. And I come real close to reminding some folk. It's a real G in here. It's a real G in here now. And don't, you know, be careful. Because I even forgot I'm the pastor. You can't just handle folk any kind of way. If you back a rabbit into a corner long enough, it's going to fight, scratch, kick, or something. You got to learn how to talk to people. This is all about how a church goes to the next level. Because watch this. Words shape worlds. Words shape worlds. How did the world get here? He spoke it into existence. When God spoke it, there it was. And that same power that can speak worlds into existence, God gave you the most dangerous weapon in the world, and that is your tongue.
Amen.
The Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue. You can build things and destroy things with your mouth.
Amen.
That's why you got to be careful what you do with your tongue. It's the conversations out of church that hurt the church. It is not the ministry meetings, but it's the calls that are made after we got done meeting that destroy the church. Ooh, look at how y'all looking at it. It's the meetings at the house after the meetings in the church that destroy the church. See, y'all didn't think I was gonna get there, but I'm going there today. See, you can't go home and be messy. Folk kill me. They won't say it in the meeting, but they'll go home. You won't say nothing in the church. You won't say nothing until you get home and act like you done rated them bossy and said what needed to be said with your lying self. Man, say it in the meeting. I mean, our church is going to go to the next level, but in order for it to get there, you got to learn when to open your mouth and when to shut your mouth. And you know how you do it? Pray before you talk. Lord, how do I know when it's right? He says, that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister. That word edify means to build. It means architect. In other words, is what I'm about to say going to build things? Is it going to better things? He says edifying and that it may minister. That word minister means to produce. Is what I'm about to say going to bear good fruit or bad fruit? And then he says grace. Grace unto the hearers. That love, salvation, that unmerited favor. Your conversation should be edifying. It should be building. It should be productive. And it should be loving. Your conversations should be building, productive, and loving. You can tell the truth, but do it with love. But love folk enough to tell them the truth. Stop telling them they can sing and they can't sing. Tell them, baby, I just think you just, we so appreciate your faithfulness, but I really think you could be used in this ministry. Be honest. But tell them in love. You can't walk up there, you can't sing, and you just need to sit down. No, that's not building anybody up. You gotta be building and productive. You gotta love people. And watch this. You can tell me the truth when I'm close to you. So you can't be real with people you don't have a relationship with.
That's right.
See, some folk can tell me certain things because they're close to me. But then if you don't know me like that, you can't handle me like that. Because you don't know me like that. I'm going to throw these scriptures out there, we ain't going to read them. But the mouth speaks of the heart. You can find that in Matthew 12, verse 34. And then Proverbs 10, verse 11 deals with the fact that corrupt conversations cause violence. And I ain't gonna, you can just write those down and go read those in your leisure. Matthew 12 and 34, Proverbs 10, verse 11. Now, I want you to understand, before I move on, that corrupt conversations cause violence. Do you not know that the majority of the arguments and fighting that goes on in most churches are because of the meetings that happen after church? That happen at home, on the phone. And I need you to understand that it's destroying the church. Because when they get back to the church, they bring that corrupt understanding and that conversation with them. So they're looking at folks sideways that they've been talking about for hours. And you trying to figure out why I can't get my ministry to move. That's because the devil has planted division seeds within the people. But he's not doing it at the church. He's doing it at home. Is this good to anybody to hear? And he said, I spoke as a child. And then look at verse 11. Also, he says, I understood as a child. So we got mature conversation, and now we have a mature comprehension. Somebody go to Proverbs 17, verse 27. Proverbs 17, verse 27. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the book just after Psalms.
He that had knowledge.
Proverbs, yep, that's it. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 27. Now, he says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child, and I thought as a child.
Amen.
Now, look at Proverbs 17, verse 27. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Now look at verse 28. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding.
Amen.
So he tells us here the benefits of knowing when to talk, because it gives birth to proper understanding. How can I get understanding without talking? I'm glad you asked. Listening. Listen. See, there's a reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Because we are to listen twice as much as we talk. You ever been having a conversation with folks and you can't even get a word in edgewise?
Amen.
And they're not really listening to you. They're just waiting for their turn to talk, because there is a difference. Everything that they fussing about, you already got the solution to, but you can't even get it out because they still talking.
Amen.
Knowledge gives birth to understanding. How you understand that which you don't know. He says, when I was a child, my understanding was like a child.
Amen.
Now the word judge means to identify. So he says, when you are childish, the way you reason a thing, the way you judge or identify a thing, that is childish. Now here, this is very important, because if I'm a child, I'm just going to see this as a table. But when I've grown up in the spirit, I understand this ain't just any table.
Amen.
How you identify a thing is based upon your maturity on that level. If I'm just a child, I don't understand why I can't lean on the table. But if I'm a mature believer, I understand what this table represents. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that we got leaders and people in church who don't understand the significance of a thing because they're still childish. They still understand as a child. They got childish interests. They got childish opinions. They got childish thoughts. And even your sin ought to grow up.
Amen.
What, Pastor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it. Even your sin ought to grow up. What do you mean?
That's right.
Some things you shouldn't even be doing anymore.
That's right.
Yes.
Amen.
Now, we all are sinners. But some sins are kid sins. And then grown folk sins.
Put that stuff in the car.
If you still gossiping and messy, and you've been in church 30 years, you too old for that. You need to have grown folk sins. Okay. Did y'all get that? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, last thing is this. So you got mature conversations. We must have mature comprehension. We must have mature characteristics. Verse 11 says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man or an adult, I put away childish things. A lot of times, our skills can take us places that our character won't keep us.
Amen.
Meaning, you've got a skill to get there, but you don't have enough character to stay there.
Amen.
So there are some people who can just flat out sing, but they have no integrity. And so because of that, their skill gets them on stage, but their character won't allow them to get into the business.
Amen.
And even in church today, we have people who are skilled in an area of leadership, but their character is flawed.
Amen.
And God can use a broken vessel, but he will not use a dirty vessel. If your character does not match your skill, see, if you got character, God can teach you how to do what he wants you to do. But if you have no character, no integrity, then God he don't need to fool with you. He says, became a man. At first, when I read that scripture, I thought that the maturity happened when the growth process happened. So I thought that meant that as the person got older, they matured. But when I did an etymological word study on the word became, I discovered that there was no Greek word for that word. The English word chose the word became, but the real Greek word is choose. So if it reads correctly, it reads, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, and thought as a child. But when I chose to be a man, then I put away childish things. Adulthood is a choice. You don't wait to grow up when you grow up. You need to choose to grow up. He says, when I became a man, I became an adult.
Amen.
And notice what he says. When I became a man, I put away childish things. I put them away. Let me tell you something. If you are around folks who childish, I don't care how close you are to them, either make them put their childish things away or you go away.
Amen.
Because some of us, we are connected to some childish folks. And they are holding you and your ministry and your family, even in your household, folks that just won't grow up, still doing the same foolishness. If they won't put it away, then you need to go away.
That's right.
Because somebody gonna rub off on somebody. Either you gonna get like them or they gonna get like you.
Amen.
And I don't know about you, but I've come too far to go backwards. Now, he says, put away childish things. They don't go away. You got to put them away. Let me show you what I mean by put them away. Let me show you what I mean by put them away. So, let's say this is your childish thing, right? Let's say this is your childish thing. Put it away. I thought that meant to just hide it and do away with it. That's what I thought. But that word put away in the Greek, it means to dispose and walk. Wait a minute. So a lot of us, we putting away our childish things. We disposing of it. But we close to it. We close enough so we can use it when we want to at our disposal. Which is why we say stuff like, God ain't through with me yet. He's still working on me. Because you're still holding on to your childish ways. But when you are a real child of God, you'll say, you know what? This man's been holding me back too long. I'm just going to throw it away and keep walking. You got to walk away from these childish attacks. It ain't your job all the time to get revenge on everybody and talk bad to folks and go off. Sometimes you just got to grow up and let folks be what they going to be. You got to put this stuff away. You ain't a player no more. You can't do that no more. Stop trying to, And even the way they handle conflict changes everything about your maturity. How a person handles conflict shows you how mature they are. Think about what kids do when they fight. When kids get mad, they fight. They take their toys and they go on. I'm going. Take them out, I'm going to go. There are some foolish believers who the moment they get angry, take their stuff, their gift, and I'm just quitting and I'm going home. I'm done. I'm out.
Amen.
And you know what? I'm so glad that Jesus didn't just say, I'm done. Because had he said, I'm done, y'all wouldn't have made him and let him go. He could have easily said, I'm done.
Amen.
But instead, he said, it's finished. Why? Because he said, I ain't done till I'm finished. He said, I'm not done till I'm finished. You don't got the right to quit when God called you. Because when he called you, he can't let you go until you finish. So sick of folk around here make me sick. Every 30 days you ready to quit. You ready to walk away. And you know what? I'm done chasing folks. I'm done chasing folks. My job is to go after those that are lost, not those that leave. And there's a difference between lost and leave. Woe unto the man that grabs hold to the gospel plow and walks away. It's something wrong with you. But here's the problem. We find out you've been doing it for yourself. That's why you keep quitting. Because when you ain't happy, then you stop. See, when you've been doing it for Jesus, you don't care what nobody says. When you've been doing it for Jesus, you left what I'm talking about. When you've been doing it for Jesus, forget everybody else. I do it for him. That's for him. I love you. I really do. But I don't work for you. I'm working on my well done, good, and faithful servant. And what I'm looking for is some folk that's going to work on their well done. I'm looking for some folks that's going to serve just because God called them. Tell you what I'm looking for. Come on. I'm looking for folks that's going to serve in response to the cross.
Come on.
If the cross ain't enough to make you get your behind in church and go to work, I have nothing else for you. If you are doing it because you love Pastor Jay, you need to get out of ministry. If you're doing it because you love your church, get out of ministry. The Bible says, serve the Lord with gladness. Sick of folk around here. Every time something goes wrong, you ready to quit.
Amen.
It's true now.
It's true now, mama. Moment you get mad, you ready to quit. That's childish. And you need to grow up. Jesus said, in this life, ye shall have trials and tribulations. They lied on him, but he kept dying. They talked about him, but he kept dying. He knew if he kept dying long enough, he'll get up like a dog. Let him talk. Because when you finish, early Sunday morning, I said early Sunday morning, you can get up. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's time to grow up.